Well, I always have to laugh because of, um, okay, I had a reason for this video, really, I did. I'm taking Hazel for her appointment, and I have to run over. I totally forgot her appointment with Tracy, which was on Friday, which was the day that Jeff showed up, and also Gary and Tiny, my electricians. So I got busy, and even though I had 2 alarms set, I forgot Hazel's appointment. So I'm going to drop Hazel off, and then I'm going to go to the bank and get Tracy's money, and I'm going to pay her for that appointment that I missed. Y'all, I felt so bad. I felt so bad. So anyway, and I have to get her some more glucosamine. Now, y'all, she is such a picky girl. And I had gotten her 2 different kinds of glucosamine, and the last time I thought I got the brand that she liked. Well, it was the brand she liked, but it wasn't the flavor. So I have to rectify that for her. And then after that, Terry and he's been looking for a little entry table. And y'all know the little demi-lune tables are so cute. You know, they're flat on one side and then they kind of bow out. Yes, I have paint on my finger and my thumb. But anyway, I've been watching for tables for him on OfferUp. And I found a couple. One's in Carlsbad. It's $15. And the other one is here in Oceanside, and it's $25, which is well within the budget that he set. Now, they're glass with black metal frames, which is fine with him. Now, you know, Terry and I have 2 different styles. He likes every surface, every piece of wall, every piece of floor to be covered up. So, hey, that's his thing. I'm going to help him do it. So, we're going to do that this afternoon. Let me see. Oh, yes. I have a question for y'all. Have you ever been thrown out of a meeting? You ever had somebody say, I'm going to have to ask you to leave? Really? Well, that happened to me recently. We were having a meeting to vote on our HOA board. So, I'm very interested in what's going on in our little park. And y'all know, sweetie, can you get by there? Let me move. There you go. So I did miss one meeting. When I got there are a few things that were kind of not what I expected. When I walked, well, there were 2 people that were hosting the meeting, a gentleman and a lady. And now the gentleman was not, he did not have his hat in the ring to be a member of the board, but she did. So when I walked in, the gentleman had a clipboard and he had a roster. And it went by space number, and then it had the name of the owner. Now, there are 55 of us who own our homes in the park out of, I think, about 72. So the gentleman asked me, he goes, well, what's your space number? And I told him. And he looks at the roster, and then he looked at me, And then he showed it to me. And he said, we don't have anything for that space number. And I said, well, somebody made a mistake somewhere. I don't know where you got the roster, probably from the office, but they made an error. I'm in this space. I've been in this space since the middle of July. And he said, well, I'm sorry, there's no name for that space. And again, I said, someone made an error. And he said, well, you can stay, but you just can't vote. Well, when somebody makes an error and it's against me, I'm not very happy about that. But I said, well, that's okay. I wasn't planning to vote anyway because I don't know any of these folks. How can you vote for people you don't know? So what happens is there are 6 people on the ballot, and you vote for 5 of them. So anyway, we went in and they allowed some extra time for everybody to get there. Well, now y'all, out of 55 owners, 16, maybe 17 showed up. So I'm sitting there and I'm next to this little old lady, and she is just the sweetest thing. And she said to me, she said, honey, I've been here 33 years and I don't know anybody. Bless her heart. Her husband actually used to be very active when they had an HOA a long time ago. And he passed away several years ago. And she lives down at the end of one of the streets in a nice double wide mobile home. And so they were talking, and the gentleman had met with the owners I think a week previously, and I had seen him out walking around with 4 people, and one of them was the owner, a couple of them were regionals. I don't know who all they were, but he was walking around the park with them. Well, come to find out, this gentleman is the liaison between our park and the city of Oceanside. So he was telling us a bit about the meeting or the walk around, I guess. I guess it was meeting. I don't know what you want to call it. He was with them. So he said a few things. He said he was very encouraged by what the owner had to say. They were going to make some improvements in the park. They were going to get rid of the old, dilapidated, vacant trailers. He was going to put in some new trailers. I don't know if he meant brand new or if he meant, newer used ones. I don't know exactly what this gentleman, what the owner said. So it's my understanding that if the park owner owns some spaces, that they are market rent spaces. They are not rent control. Now I'm going to have to look into that a little bit because I don't want to give any false information, but that's my understanding. So he said that some of them would be for rent and some could be for sale. And so this gentleman asked the owner, he said, well, do you have any plans of reselling the park? And the owner said, well, if somebody offered me $50 million for this little park, what would you do? That was to me a bit evasive, but that's okay. I don't care. The thing that to me was the most important was that the gentleman said, now, let me preface that with saying you cannot always believe what people are saying. And I'm kind of a suspicious person. And I'll admit that. I I I'm a little suspicious, but I'm going with the flow. I just want to be involved. I want to know what's going on. I want to get the message firsthand. Now, when you have an HOA, you can ask for a meeting with the owners or owner. Now, there was a debate. Is the property owned by one entity or two? The gentleman running the meeting with the lady said one, the lady said two. Now, you see how this gets. Everybody does not have the same information. They're not on the same page. They don't have the same opinions. This HOA stuff can be kind of tricky, and that's why I want to know what's going on. Not hear it from a neighbor or somebody, down the street or whatever. I want to be able to form my own opinions. But what the gentleman said the owner told him was he has no intentions of fighting the rent control. That is a very long, drawn out process, y'all. It takes years. And then a lot of times the park owner doesn't win. The residents of the park win. The owners in the park win. And this happened many years ago at this very park. So I thought that was encouraging. And so there were some positive things. Now, as the meeting progressed, the gentleman was over on this side. To me, it would have been my right side, and the lady was on the left side. And she was talking, and she was sick. And she came over to hand me, I guess it was a ballot or something, and I just backed up. I said, honey, you're sick, and I don't want to get sick. And some other people said the same thing. I mean, I have a problem when people are really sick and they come to spread it around. I have a problem with that. So anyway, so she's talking, and I even had my hearing aids in, and I still couldn't. She was kind of, to me anyway, kind of mumbling, and she wasn't talking very loud, although she does have a very loud voice. So one thing was bothering me, and so I raised my hand like you should do in a meeting, not just blurt out something. So she was irritated. She goes, yes. And I said, well, I have a question, and I don't really know how to well, just ask it. Okay. I said, I'm a little concerned that out of 55 owners, there are only like 16, 17 of us here. Is that okay? Yes, that's fine. That's okay. I'm like, okay. Well, to me, that didn't seem right somehow. Now, we get notifications on a clip on our mailbox, and mine was so wet and runny, I almost couldn't read it. That's something that needs to change. So then somehow it was, I'm thinking, I can't remember for sure how it happened. I don't know if she was going to hand me a ballot, and the gentleman said, well, she's not on the roster. And so she goes like this. She goes, well, you can't be here. And I said, I have been here, and you know that because you live right across the way from me. I've been here since the middle of July. And a couple of the people in the, a couple of the owners there were saying, she has a right to be here. And so, bottom line is, she said, this is a closed private meeting for the owners. And I said, look, it is not my fault that whoever made up the roster made a mistake, but I have every right to be here. A couple of people took up for me. She goes, nope, you're not on the roster, therefore you're not an owner, and I have to ask you to leave. Well, y'all, you can tell by my voice, chill out, calm down. So I picked up my pink lawn chair. I took my own chair because at one of the meetings it was full. There weren't enough seats. I'm sure steam was coming out of my ears. And a couple of people, especially one of the gentlemen, he was dressed so nice. He had a tie and a purple shirt, pair of dress pants. And he said, she has a right to be here. And so the lady said, are you a renter? And I said, no, I am not. But you have said enough. And I left. Y'all, I was so mad. Reminded me of, what was the name of that show? The Poltergeist or whatever, where that girl's head just did a 360. I mean, I was so mad. I was furious. Now, neither the gentleman nor the lady, and that's stretching it to call her a lady, said, let us call Lori and see if she can clear this up. Nope. Didn't even offer. And that really made me mad. So I went home. I was furious. So I started looking for my paperwork. Now, y'all, I'm going to tell you, I have said, my paperwork, I don't know what has happened to me, but it took me a little bit to find my paperwork. I had like 4 manila file folders. I need a little filing cabinet. Really, I do, y'all. But, because I've got paperwork in 2 or 3 different places, and I was looking for my paperwork, and I had file folders all in the floor, and I was getting more upset at myself. Well, finally, I'm like, oh, Debrajoy, your pink briefcase. Sure enough, that's where they were. So I took more than was needed for proof, and I marched my little hiney back over there. Well, by then, they had finished with the voting. And I walked up, and this lady was sitting at a table, and there was another lady sitting to the left of her. And so I handed that lady my paperwork. And she looked at it, and she looked at this other lady, and she said, she is an owner. And some people that were still, she gets to vote. She has a right to vote. And so the other lady handed me a ballot. Now, I wasn't going to vote, y'all, but I did. And you can guess who I did not vote for. Now, I don't know any of those people that I voted for, but I do know who I didn't vote for. Now, I had already, from the first meeting, had a gut feeling. And so that's what I did. I went with my gut. And I would have done that whether this chick threw me out of the meeting or not. So after I voted and I handed in my ballot, the gentleman that had been helping with the meeting was sitting over by this other gentleman. And the well-dressed dude looked at me and he said, "I'm very glad that you came back." And the other gentleman didn't say anything, but he nodded like that. And some other people said the same thing. "We're glad you came back." So, y'all, I felt like that this woman did not give me the benefit of the doubt. It was like she was calling me a liar. Why would I say, I am an owner, I have a right to be here in this meeting, and if I so choose, I have a right to vote? Why would I lie about that? It could be checked out. You know, why would a person lie about something that could be verified? I don't know. But needless to say, now, I do want to say this too, and I could leave this out if I wanted to, and nobody would know it. But I'm going to tell you because I always try to be brutally honest with you guys. The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what we do on this channel. So, to her credit, she came over. I was sitting at the end of the love seat, and she came over and she squatted down next to me and she apologized to me. So I give her credit for that, y'all. And it's really good that she did, because if she hadn't, I would have stood up and said, "I think you owe me an apology." So I'm glad she did. I'm so glad she did. And I truly give her credit for that. And now, gentleman came in right behind me, and he got to vote as well. And so they tallied them up, and I think it's five people have to all tally the votes. So there's no cheating going on, unless of course they're all in cahoots with each other. I highly doubt that. But anyway, they named off the people who are now our board members and will represent us, the owners. And she was not one of them. And when I looked at her, y'all, despite the way she treated me, I felt a little sorry for her. She looked a little embarrassed, and I know she was disappointed, but I have to say, I think it was a good thing. When you get somebody who, what I call, rides roughshod over everyone else, and if they have to keep raising their voice to talk over everyone, then that's what they do. And I don't think that that is the best personality to have on a board of any kind. Now, y'all know I'm very outspoken, uh, and I can be loud. And that's one of the reasons why I would not want to be on the board. Plus, you have the pleasure of everybody having your phone number. They know what space you live in. They drop by, they call. Instead of showing up for the meetings, they'll call you after and want to know what happened. At least that's what happened to me when I was on a board before. I definitely don't want that pleasure again ever. But I just thought I would let y'all know what happened. Now, there have been some good things already. We had a gardener come by this morning. There's not a lot they can do. We don't have a lot of common ground. Um, and then there was a gentleman that came by on a little street sweeper, and I think he was actually kind of vacuuming in our little cul-de-sac. Those are good things, y'all. We've had some trees trimmed. We had some gentlemen out there measuring for something. I don't know what. So I think we're starting to see some positive changes. Oh my word. I am so sorry, y'all. I will let you go right now. Do something fun today. And it's time for Miss Hazel to go in. Talk to you later. Bye now.